Hey, Nerd Herd, Dynasty Nerds here, back again. Once again, this time we're talking Dynasty Fantasy Football running backs. We're going to give you each of our top 10s, put in a composite, see where they lie. Again, everybody's a little bit different after those top three. Let's see who we like and who you might not like.
And where did you guys put Saquon?
You guys just like all the old guys. I don't understand that.
Yeah, this guy likes the guy I've been pushing for 6 months. He's not even in my top 10. Let's see who we're talking about.
Javonte!
Ready, set, hut, hut. Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Dotson, here, my fellow nerds, Matthew O'Hara.
Hey.
And Gareth Price.
I actually knew a Gareth once, and he instantly became my mortal enemy.
Enemy or nemesis?
Nemesis.
Yes, both of them.
Look at me correcting people on how to say words. Look at me.
It's a brand new day.
It is.
Yeah, didn't like the guy.
I'm going to start saying running.
No, you're not.
That's so hard.
you're
not.
Running.
Let's not get crazy.
Is that the correct? Running.
I mean,
Yeah, with
kind
less
of.
emphasis.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to say it like a Valley girl.
Running.
Calm down, Jared. Jesus.
Emphasis on the wrong syllable.
I blame my
Syllable.
surroundings mostly for that in my brain. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, we all speak our own ways. Yeah,
We do.
This is how I speak. I apologize to nobody. We're back with another show. Today's show, we're talking over the next two episodes. Actually, this show, the Nerd Herd show, and next week, we're going to be talking top 10 running backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tight ends. So
For Dynasty.
of course, this is Dynasty.
Not
Nerds.
contender, not redraft.
Dynasty
Make
only.
sure we know.
Kind of see where the market lays right here in February, early March. So we're going to get into this. We each put down our top 10 guys. Ooh. Then we're going to look at those top 10. We'll give you each of our top 10 in order, how we have them. And then we have a composite here of where they are. And we're going to kind of go through that and see where we stand. Before we do that, there's no better way to kick off 2/22/22 on a Tuesday than a huge all 22 update to the film room.
wow, look at you.
So
Look at that.
we updated the film room again today. We have about 800 videos in that film room right now. 800 videos
We still have so much more to upload, too.
We do.
in the film room of the incoming 2022 rookie class. And listen, you need all this tape because as I've been diving into this tape, this class is getting a lot more mediocre than I want it to be. You know,
Yes.
I tweeted out today, I was like, hey, if you can move your first, like anywhere from 1-4 on for like a 23 first, like I would recommend doing that. Like this class has a lot of upside. Again, anything can change, everybody can break out and become a stud player. But
Sure.
the way it's kind of looking is like this class seems like it has a lot of good like running back 2 upside, wide receiver 2 upside. Not that home run threat, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Now Traylon Burks is a fine player. Drake London's a fine player. But even like my top guys are Jameson Williams, Drake London, Garrett Wilson. Those guys like they have a little bit of flaw there. Now if either of those guys became great, it wouldn't shock me. And
Sure.
I'm not done digging in, but like, you know, hey, 23 first seems like a little bit little sexier this moment. So right now, if you want to get in that film room with 800 videos, that will literally last you from now until March. Even though the games are only 5 minutes, 800 times 5 minutes, that's a lot of minutes. What is that, 40,000
A
minutes?
lot of minutes.
That was strong math.
Yeah,
really?
40,000
Shit.
divided by what, 24 or 60? 40,000 divided by 60.
I don't know what you're trying to do, so I can't tell you.
Well, there's 60 minutes in an hour.
Okay, gotcha.
There's 40,000 minutes.
This reminds me of the scene in The Office when he's like, well, wait, how many is there an hour? He's like,
666.
how is that going to help you? He's like, well, I'll count to it and then I'll divide.
So there's 666 hours in there for all you Satan lovers out there. Yeah, 666, son.
Great.
40,000 divided by 60.
Yeah. So that's 666 hours divided by 24. Come on.
Come on, you got a calculator? How's that too much?
I almost did it in my head that time.
27, he's pointed at me.
27 days.
27 days.
If you
worth
sat
of
there
tape.
and watched our film room for 27 days straight, you could watch all this film.
Hey, you got enough time right before draft.
Just enough time to get it in there. So
There you go.
This is the last week. We've been running it all for the last month and a half. The promo code WINTER for only our podcast listeners. You get 15% off if you just want to join the Nerd Herd only and get the film room. Plus, you get the bonus podcast, everything, which I really recommend because as we start to break down these rookies, we break them down in halves. One for the free show, one for the paid show. And I see it all the time every year. Like, oh, you only cover half the rookies. It's like, well, we got bills to pay.
For you, we only cover half.
For the nerd herd. For literally the price of a cup of coffee, if you just want to subscribe for the next, say, 3 months here to get ready for your rookie draft, you get the film room. You'll get all our rookie breakdowns. If you have any curiosity, go on Spotify, and all our old shows are free. Look at our old rookie breakdowns and see how well we have done. Yep. Where the rest of the Dynasty community is going left, we go right a lot of times. And not to pat ourselves on the back, which I do way too often, I would put our rookie breakdowns and our rookie analysis against anybody in the business. And that's anybody out there who's doing mock drafts or anything. We've had a very high success out there breaking down these rookies. So you can get all that information to dominate your rookie draft right now. 15% off. Use that promo code WINTER. This is the last week you can use it. If you don't use it this week, Jared, when's the expiration date? Like 3/1, 3/2?
3/2.
3/2?
I was going to say 2/28, and then I made it 3/2 just to give you guys a little extra buffer.
So it's on the next pod.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to be a little buff, get in there. 3/2.
We have put ourselves up against the industry on our rookie takes. I mean,
true.
the nerd score, it did better than actual draft capital. So you get access to that.
Yeah, take that, NFL GMs.
Yeah.
And then I was in a
GMs.
contest. I scored first in with JJ Zacharyson, Mike Clay. I came first.
You came first. No,
Yeah.
Mike JJ came in third.
Yeah.
Correct.
Jared came in number 1 out of all those guys.
Numero uno.
So if you want to be number 1 too,
That's right.
Listen
not
to
number
us.
2, listen to me. And these guys, of course. I
And
mean,
other people.
Matt's a wide receiver wizard. I'm pretty good at nailing these running backs. Garrett's okay at some stuff. And Jared,
You're the running back whisperer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Besides Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I've had
Besides the RB1 right now. Yeah.
I've had pretty good success.
Matt, how many Justin Jefferson shares do you have?
All of them.
Oh, my gosh.
He does have all. That's why I can't get any. He's got all the AJ Brown
Can't
shares.
get any of them.
Yeah. So promo code WINTER, get on that again for the price of a cup of coffee. If you do the next 3 months, you're literally paying what, like $12, $14 for
It's cheap.
literally like all the rookie information you'll need anywhere else. This is where you're going to find it. Promo code WINTER. So now, forget the rookies. Let's just look at the Dynasty landscape. It's February, Dynasty leagues. We need some things to conversate about here. And what's better than kind of getting a good feel of the top 10 guys? Because if you have some of these guys, your team's in good shape. And maybe you're on the fence about who to target, who not to target. So let's kick it off first individually and see where we stand with our top 10. Myself, and I will go first. That's what I do. Number 1,
Proceed.
Jonathan Taylor, because he was obviously my number one coming out that rookie year.
Yeah,
a lot of people were pounding the table for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, thinking he was going to be the next Brian Westbrook and how many receptions he would have and dominate the league. And I was like, whoa, guys.
Easy.
Jonathan Taylor's clearly coming to Wisconsin. He could catch the football, the 1-1. So he's still my 1-1 here. It's my 1-1 overall amongst all running backs.
Right.
Number 2, I still have Christian McCaffrey. It's Christian McCaffrey. He averages 30 points per game. He's only 25. Got to keep him on there. DeAndre Swift at number 3. I have Najee Harris at number 4. Javonte Williams at number 5. Dalvin Cook at 6. Alvin Kamara at 7. Austin Eckler at 8. Saquon Barkley at 9. And Nicholas Jamal Chubb at number 10. Matt, please let our viewers and listeners hear your golden top 10.
Oh, my top 10. All right. I wasn't sure if Garrett was going next or me. But
No,
I'll go.
you
All
go.
right. I got Jonathan Taylor number 1 as well.
Copycat. Wow.
Straight off the rip, coming out, I was also had him on top.
Emulate the ones you love, you know what I mean?
And then,
Oh, thanks, guys.
and then DeAndre, we love you, man. And then number 2, Swift. Number 3, CMC for obvious reasons. Number 4, I did have Saquon Barkley. I guess you guys do not believe in the hype as much as I do.
Well, I guess we'll be talking about that.
We
Yes,
will
we will.
definitely be talking about that.
And then Harris, number 5, Javonte Williams, 6.
Whoa! You're out of the truther club, Matt.
I'm out.
You're not. You don't even have him in your top 5.
He's just knocking on the door there.
You're in the Met club.
The mayor.
Meh.
I have him at 5. I have him higher than
man.
Matt.
Look, he's a truther. Top 5.
Well, I guess after all the
We're
dust
at him
is
all along.
after all the dust is settled, here I am down at the bottom with him. Kamara.
Hey, and he has Harris above Javonte, too. Look at that.
Look at that.
Sorry. Let's talk about this after he gets his time.
Yeah, I know. We got to let him keep talking.
You are consistently interrupted this show.
Honestly.
So rude.
So number 7,
can't
Alvin
stand
Kamara. Number 8, Dalvin Cook.
You guys are pissing me off.
Nick Chubb at 9, and Austin Eckler at 10.
I hope everybody got that.
If they don't, I guess rewind it.
Yeah, that's
one of the great things about
back
podcasts.
30 seconds. Yep. Boom.
One and done.
Yep. You guys are idiots.
Of course we're idiots. Garrett, you're up, man.
All right. I also am copying these guys that have
wrong.
loved Jonathan
that's
Taylor
the wrong
forever.
answer. Nope.
Emulate the ones you love.
Jonathan Taylor 1. I have Javonte Williams.
Javonte 2?
All the way up at number 2.
What are you high on?
You know what the interesting thing is? I had him lower, and then I just recently did a startup, and I was like, nope, Javonte over these guys. But then actually I traded back, so I actually didn't even take Javonte. But if I was picking there, I would have.
You would have taken Javonte.
Yeah, but then I traded back and got a really good receiver.
That's a true testament. I love it when people have rankings, or something along those lines, and like you're in a startup and you're like, oh man, I really want this guy.
Yep.
Like I really like Jamal Williams.
Javonte
Williams. But I feel like you love him as much as I love Mike Williams. And like you're like that far out on that ledge.
I might be.
Yeah,
he was the RB3 to go off the board in that draft for the record too. So
okay, well,
just saying.
Okay.
All right, I have DeAndre Swift at 3. I have CMC at 4. This is the other interesting one that apparently is pretty spicy. I have J.K. Dobbins all the way up at 5.
How dare you?
J.K. Dobbins. He wasn't even my buy. He was Rich's buy, but didn't make it in his top 10. I don't know.
I'm biased.
Najee Harris at 6. Joe Mixon at 7. Nick Chubb at 8. Austin Eckler at 9. And Saquon Barkley at 10.
Whew. So a lot of the same names. Some of them are different, obviously, and definitely I think we're all kind of all over the board as far as where they fall in the top 10, right?
Right. I think the top 3 are fairly similar. We all have Jonathan Taylor at 1. We all have Swift either at 2 or 3. And all of us have CMC in the top 4. So I think we can pretty safely say like those are our consensus top 3. After that is really where it gets wild. And I don't think that's just us. I think for the community as a whole, really at that point, things just kind of go out the window and they're all over the place. So it's going to be interesting discussing these players and why we've ranked some higher than the other people on the panel here.
Yeah, so we have a composite here of an average score of the guys we have in order here. You want to read off that list here? If you took our top 10, you averaged them out, it gets us to a top 12.
Yep.
Garrett, give us the top 12.
All right, so Jonathan Taylor at 1, DeAndre Swift at 2, CMC at 3. We have Javonte Williams at 4, Najee Harris at 5, Saquon Barkley at 6. Tied for 7th, we have Cook and Kamara. And then tied for 9th, we have Eckler and Dobbins. And then Chubb and Mixon are just on the outside looking in. Now, the way I did the averages here, I just gave an 11 for anybody that wasn't in our top 10. So that might skew it slightly, but that gives you pretty close to basically our top 12 there.
Yeah, I think this is pretty fair. You know what I mean? A lot of this, I love when people too be like, oh, you have this person here and here. I mean, for the grand scheme of things in Dynasty, when you definitely look at rankings or startups, like you're looking at tiers, right? Like, right. Are these guys in tiers? Like you have Dobbins at 6. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't if somebody took Dobbins there where you have him ahead of Najee Harris or any of those guys you have him ahead of, I would not throw a fit whatsoever. I'm like, oh, okay. I believe in Dobbins. I think he has the potential to reach that height. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a guy, Josh Jacobs, that wasn't even mentioned that could surpass probably 50% of these guys this year, who's also only 25 years. So
Antonio Gibson's not on the list,
which is another. There's some people listening right now going, how is Antonio Gibson not on your list? He's my running back 6. How is Derrick Henry, the king, not in there? Well, he's 29 years old and he's coming off an injury. So
how's Cam Akers? Some people would say not on this.
Absolutely.
I put out a tweet. I was like, these are all before the show.
You were just asking for violence.
I know, I am. I was like, before I go on the show, I got to let people know where I stand. I was like, I have the following running backs listed. These are the following running backs I have ranked higher than Cam Akers. And I went on and listed 23 running backs.
Did you run out of characters in the tweet? Did you have to do a second page?
No, and there's some that are even really close. Like Kareem Hunt and Cam Akers are like really close for me. You know what I mean? I almost want to put Hunt there. And the biggest now I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire right in front of Akers. So right in front of him. And my biggest feedback on my Twitter poll was,
go ahead.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire? What? And I'm like, dude, listen. Cam Akers hasn't been in the league he's been in the league for 2 years. Granted, he missed
same
most
amount
of the
time
year.
CH.
Cam Akers has done nothing whatsoever. And I know he missed with Achilles, but Achilles isn't an ACL injury. That's a major injury, and you can lose a lot of your like explosiveness, and they could hurt you. We don't know the bound. Like, he's going to be the first running back to ever come back besides Deontay Foreman, but like that took him multiple years, like 3 years to come back. And he looked terrible in the playoffs, which is, I'm not going to blame a guy for looking terrible in the playoffs, but he's been back for
a
few games.
Yeah.
After 6 months ago, tearing his Achilles. So to me, it's just that's a huge risk factor. He didn't look that great. It's a throw-first football team as it is. I would rather take all these guys. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, to me, has just as much upside if he's used. The chance of him being used in a Kansas City offense, to me, is equal to just as good of a chance that Cam Akers can come back and be successful off that Achilles injury. So to me, I'm taking a guy who I had ranked higher coming out of the draft, and it's overall on a better team that didn't win the Super Bowl.
Cam Akers right now in my rankings.
Yeah.
Running back 24. Guess who's right above him?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Kareem Hunt.
Oh, see, and honestly,
so I must be like the high guy on Cam Akers in this podcast. Like, I think I have him at like 17 or 18 or something like that.
I am at 23.
Clyde's a couple spots ahead.
So you guys think he's going to be replaced?
Who, Cam?
Yeah.
No, I think he's going to get every opportunity to succeed. I just don't think he's going to be that great.
Yeah, and I think just on volume alone, I would have him higher than like Hunt and like some of those guys, just because he's going to get the workload.
He's going to get the workload. I'm just... The way I look at it is them coming up the Super Bowl, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they draft a guy, right? Mm-hmm. Like a guy like you love Dameon Pierce. Like, I think they'll bring a guy in that's going to compete with him. And I'm worried that, like, if he can't produce, he was already like a prospect as it was, like an upside prospect who only had, 33 carries in college. Where
this is a lot on Cam Akers for it being
Akers had more than that.
Sorry for the question.
You're thinking of Antonio Gibson.
Yeah. So to me, it's just if he can't produce right away, it becomes a timeshare situation on a team that's going to throw the football a ton. Sure. All signs are saying they want to bring Odell Beckham back, and Odell wants to go back, and he literally said, "I'll take less money to come back." So with Van Jefferson, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and Odell, who knows if Robert Woods stays, and Tyler Higbee. And that's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense.
I think the most important part that you just said there is the timeshare. They have come out and said they're fine with three-headed monster. They don't give a crap. They don't care about your fantasy team. They just want to be able to run the ball effective enough, I think, to offset all their passing that they're going to be doing. So I agree with you. It is a pass-heavy type of offense that they're not looking to run. They're not looking to grind out wins. You know what I mean? You're not looking for the running back in that situation.
But there have been situations
unless they're going to throw to him a ton.
So there have been situations, it was under Jared Goff, but where Sean McVay really did run the ball a lot and was one of the more run-heavy, offensive coordinators in the head coach. So I'm just saying, let's not assume that he's not going to be willing to run it if he has a healthy running back.
I'll make an ass of you and me easily here, and I will assume because I'm just telling you.
I can't believe I'm defending Cam Akers when I have him at like 18 here.
And listen, I'm not even saying Cam Akers can't prove me wrong, but he's the most overdrafted, overranked running back.
I don't have a single share. Right, I'm not saying I love the guy. I just think the hate's gone a little bit too far.
Who was a player that
I'm getting you his jersey.
There was a player that came out of college that was way more talented than Cam Akers that has literally just as much upside, if not more, and his name is Miles Sanders. That has just as more upside than Cam Akers. Whatever I'm trying to speak, whatever language.
Just the English language.
So I'm selling, again, we've talked about it enough, but I mean, what's funny is besides Derrick Henry, it took multiple years, like when we harp on these guys like this, we've been right way more than we're wrong on these guys. It usually pans out that way.
Sure.
Running back's already the most easily tradable asset on your dynasty team. It's the most fluid asset on your dynasty team. I mean, we just talked about this, how easy you can blow up a team by trading running backs. We have a new video coming out on YouTube. We're going to start doing it for the Nerd Herd members only here. Some team audits. We're going to break down your team, see how we could either help you get a championship or help you blow it up to become a contender. We just did one and involved trading away Derrick Henry and Javonte Williams. Check it out on YouTube.
I'm literally publishing it right now.
Yeah, it came out pretty good as we broke down this team. I feel really good about it.
We crushed
those trades go through, this guy's a contender. So
I wasn't there, so I wouldn't put too much weight into it. But
we talked mostly running backs. We didn't worry about the receivers.
I think it's a good product anyway.
Check out our YouTube channel, like, subscribe, and comment below and say if we did a good job or not. So back to these running backs here. Like Garrett said, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, Christian McCaffrey, consensus top three, not the need to go here. So at number 4, we have Javonte Williams as our consensus. I looked at this right before I updated my rankings. I had Cook ahead of Javonte, and I was like, no, if I was in a startup, I would take Javonte Williams over that. And that's why I kind of try to do my rankings as. Like, I try to look at my rankings as that. Like, I try to take a little bit of the community because I know there's guys that I don't like at all. So I take some of that in mind. Like, hey, I could be wrong here. You know, there's a chance. You know, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
There's a chance.
There's a chance. But like, who would I take in a draft first? That's easy way to rank. So I moved Javonte up a little bit. I have Harris ahead of him. I have Swift ahead of him. Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor. That's it. The reason I would take Najee Harris is simply the same reason I took him in a startup. Like, I just think I like his tape a little better coming out, and I think he's in a situation to get all the carries. We still don't know if Javonte's going to get all the carries because Melvin Gordon could still sign back there. And I wouldn't expect it to be a 50-50 split, but there's still a little bit worry there. Again, we're splitting hairs. I have him at 4.
Yeah, so they're one spot apart.
I think the biggest question here is Matt, who's a huge Javonte fan, now has moved Harris above him, Barkley above him. So what's your basis off of that? Like, what gets you to Javonte? Again, not that this is a huge deal, but what bumps Javonte down just a little bit there for you?
I don't think it actually. I didn't really bump Javonte down. Actually, I moved him up when I did our final rankings here. It was Najee Harris for me jumped him during the season. So I originally had, coming out, I had Javonte Williams ahead of Najee Harris because I think he's a more talented running back. But like you had mentioned, obviously this past season he's splitting carries with Melvin Gordon, and Najee Harris was just getting an absurd amount of carries. And I don't really think there's going to be anything changing as far as him getting an absurd amount of carries this coming year. Obviously, everyone that likes Javonte Williams, and I am one of those people, hopes that he is the lone back next year. But you mentioned it. There's a little bit of uncertainty. Melvin Gordon's already said he wants to come back. I know that they have a ton of cap space in order to re-sign some players, especially a guy like Melvin Gordon. I think that would be a cheap option. I think they would know what they're getting. And then you're in another timeshare. So if I knew that Melvin Gordon wasn't coming back and Javonte Williams was for sure getting all the carries, I would probably have him above Najee Harris because I believe in his talent a little bit more. But right now it's just a little bit of uncertainty. For me, they're back to back basically, and Najee Harris is just ahead of him.
And I expect that to be the norm. I expect Harris to be above Javonte in 70-80% of people's rankings. I understand why people have that. For me, the concerns that I had last year are starting to prove themselves this year. I was worried what happens if Big Ben isn't back, because such a big chunk of his production was just on raw receptions alone. And that was one of the biggest factors in him getting pushed up fantasy points wise was from that. With him being gone, we're looking at, we know Mike Tomlin loved Malik Willis at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, he's mentioned he wants a dual threat quarterback.
Yeah, which there's two things about Malik Willis. One, instead of checking down, he's going to take off and run. So that's going to take away a lot of those receptions. And two, one of the things that Big Ben wasn't able to do as well last year is get the ball down the field. Whereas I think Malik Willis is going to get the ball down the field if that's a quarterback. Sure. Could be a lot of.
He won't be there when they pick though, so I'm not worried about it.
They could easily trade up though. I mean, we see teams that fall in love with a quarterback and make that. But even if it's Jimmy Garoppolo, if it's almost anybody is going to throw the ball down the field more than Ben Roethlisberger did. So I expect it to be a heavier pass offense. They want to get Chase Claypool involved. They didn't do that at all last year. So all of those things are why I still have just a little bit of hesitancy. Floor, love the floor on Harris. Love the floor. I just don't think the ceiling's quite as high if he's not getting all of those checkdowns.
Yeah, and then the other thing with Harris is he was doing it last year behind a pretty bad offensive line. So you'd expect them to address that as well in the offseason. And
if they can.
I think that will offset a little bit of his lack of receptions, because he should, in theory, be getting at least a little bit better of an offensive line.
And you're talking about a guy in PPR leagues that scored 300.7 points. I mean, he was running back 3 overall ahead of some big time hitters. So to me, he did everything like Matt said. He proved it. And sometimes the reason why I think Alvin Kamara or Cam Akers is such a big sell is a lot of people, not a lot, but I would say about 20% of Dynasty players, 25% of Dynasty players love to just put so much value in speculation. And I get it. It's a good way to get that home run threat. But for a lot of times when you're gambling like that, it's a big gamble that you're swinging on. Definitely when you're taking guys this high. One thing I don't like to do early in my startup drafts or situations like this is take a big swing, right? Where I'm taking that big gamble, because when you do and you miss, you set your team back drastically. Me and my boy toy over here, Baker Mayfield, in a super flex draft. Like, I let my emotions get ahead of me, and I was taking him in the first round or second round. That miss in the super flex league sets my team back drastically. You take a guy like Cam Akers at 2.5, 212, 3-1 in a startup, and you miss, that sets your team back drastically. Definitely on a running back here. You know, a position that you are only hoping to get 2 to 4 years out of high production.
Well, and I totally agree because, like I mentioned before, I was just recently in a startup. I had the pick at 2.6, and had I not been able to trade out, that was the guy I was strongly considering taking, and I knew other people were gunning for him, and I actually traded that spot to a guy that I knew was going to take Javonte, even though I love him, even though I have him as my RB2 in a startup draft. I got to move down 6 spots, but I picked up a 4th rounder. And so I was able to get, 2 solid wide receivers there in the second round then. And I felt much better about my team build overall. So even though I have him at 2, that don't mistake that as I wouldn't take receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks ahead of him. So, really where I would feel comfortable taking him is right around like the beginning of the 3rd round. And I don't think he's ever going to be there in the startup. So that's why I'm glad I got a lot of shares of him in rookie drafts last year, because I don't think I'm going to get any shares of him in startups this year.
Yeah, the only running back I would consider taking in the first round of a startup is Jonathan Taylor.
Yep.
At 23. He's the only running back I would even consider in a startup. The rest, I'm trying to get my fingers on these young, super talented wide receivers. Definitely when I don't see one coming out in this class. I know we got Jackson Smith and Jigba coming out next year, but like right now, we've been so spoiled with these guys. Like, I want to get 2 of those guys and build around that and grab some running backs later. So Javonte Harris at 4. Najee Harris is the consensus here at number 5. So 2 rookies coming in last year. One was both pretty productive in their points per carry, essentially. Javonte looked great. Like I said, what got me was Javonte that one game where Melvin Gordon was out. We went for 175 yards, 179 yards with 3 touchdowns. Yep. And I was like, he's shown us what he could do that in half a game with splitting carries with Melvin Gordon. And that's what he's doing full game. He could be running back 1 this year. So
and he's the type of player too that is a rhythm running back. Especially a lot of those bigger backs, they get better as the game goes on, as they wear out the defense and wear out the defense. So
he grinds out yards too, and then he just breaks off chunk plays. That's his thing.
2 big running backs do that. Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry both get better as the game go along. If you look at Nick Chubb's carry yards per carry, look at his fourth quarter yards per carry, which are always better.
It's usually
than the rest
around
of the
like
game.
8 to 10 yards per carry in the fourth quarter. He's nuts.
Running backs like that pound down a defense, and eventually you're like, hey man, I'm not gonna put my whole shoulder down.
I'm just gonna give him a little glancing blow here. And then...
alligator arms. So, is there anything you guys want to say about like Najee Harris here? I know you mentioned
we
before,
touched on him a little bit.
We touched on him a little bit here. I'm with Matt. I'm a big believer, and I don't think it matters what quarterback comes in. If you bring Malik Willis in, it's gonna be more Najee Harris. If you bring Jimmy Garoppolo in, it's gonna be just as much Najee Harris. I disagree. I think it's going to be just as many carries. I think he's almost locked in as a top 5.
We are splitting hairs a little bit here. You have him at 5. I have him at 6.
Yeah.
Or you at 4, 5, 6. So it's not that I hate the guy. It's just I don't think the ceiling is as high.
Goes back to my original statement. I think we're splitting hairs on all these guys. So I don't want to see any comments going, if there's a guy that's not in here, like Antonio Gibson, like we mentioned, he's right on the outside for me, like looking in. And if you took Antonio Gibson here at 9, if you took Antonio Gibson ahead of Alvin Kamara, like I wouldn't, but I don't hate the pick. Like they're running backs. They're all good running backs. Yeah. They can all drop at any second here. All their shelf lives are pretty short. I mean, if anything, look at Christian McCaffrey. In our top 3, the guy hasn't played in 2 years. He's still consensus top 3 in a startup. That's what happens when you average 30 points per game. So after that, we have Barkley here at 6. Now, obviously, this is skewed because Matt had Barkley at 4. So
4, yep.
So he averages out at 6 for us because of Matt. So Matt,
yes,
please explain. Which again, I don't hate Barkley here. I have no argument with it whatsoever. But explain yourself.
Explain myself. All right, man. I mean, Saquon Barkley obviously came in as all-world type of guy. Rookie year, 2,000 yards between rushing and receiving. I think he had 1,300 rushing yards and like 700
pre-ACL. Yep.
Yeah, pre-ACL. Obviously has not been the same player, right? I mean, the past couple of years just can't stay healthy. New offense, they're breathing new life into this whole New York Giants team, and I'm buying in a little bit. I mean, he's only 25 years old. This guy is a phenomenal talent, And that's what I'm basing this ranking off of. I mean, there's only so many people in the world, I think, that are as good as him when healthy. Obviously, he has not been healthy the past couple of seasons, but if he gets himself right in this offense, I think he can be one of these guys that catches 60 balls pretty easily.
Sure.
And is going to get you 1,200, 1,300 yards rushing on the ground. I mean, it's a matter of obviously a leap of faith on my side that he's going to be able to stay healthy. But if he does, they're going to be needing to run the ball to kind of set up the offense here going downfield. We talked about Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll came obviously from New England originally, and has been in the system there for a long time. And that system historically has always wanted to run the ball. And Daboll obviously has been a little bit more pass happy these last couple of years, sure, with Josh Allen and no running backs. But I think when push comes to shove, he's going to see that Saquon Barkley is his best player, better than his quarterback, and he's going to need to lean on him in order to get wins there in New York.
If you're going to take a leap of faith, this is the guy you want to take your leap of faith on. And I'm with you. The coaching staff change really does help because he was under Joe Judge. That whole offense was horrific, to say nonetheless. And you have to imagine if Brian Daboll is going to change things here with that offensive line, with Daniel Jones. Maybe he can fix Daniel Jones, maybe he won't, but it's all going to start with Barkley. Like, you got to imagine he's going to run that offense through him. He historically runs the ball a ton. And you're right, with Buffalo, he had no choice to throw the football. Josh Allen took that out of his hands. His running backs kind of took it out of his hands. He had a committee there. Devin Singletary was okay, averaging about 4.7 yards per carry. But to me, Barkley, 2 years removed from the ACL, new coaching staff, and not only top of that, Barkley's in his 5th-year option. Mm-hmm. Like, he's if Barkley wants to get paid big time money, he's got to come out. And we always see these players come out in contract years and usually have a pretty solid year. So even taking him here, if Barkley can reproduce some of that magic and get close back to those stats, Barkley's value skyrockets. Like, talk about like a guy that you could probably go out and buy for a reasonable price that has the highest upside of return right now. Like the thing with Javonte Williams is whatever you pay, there's nothing he can do that's going to be that's going to make him that much more valuable.
Right. He's getting to the Miles Sanders from a couple of years ago hype.
You're paying that price. Right. You're paying that price. Jonathan Taylor, you're paying that price. Christian McCaffrey, there's a slight discount there. DeAndre Swift, I mean, talking about a guy that you're paying the price for, like, we can make the same argument here as DeAndre Swift could be a huge sell. He's consensus top 3 and still hasn't really produced that high-end top 3 finish. So he falls in that category of a great sell in my eyes if the value is right. But Barkley is a guy that can kind of re-enter that category at 25 years old, get that long-term deal so people have some comfort level to him, and then you can sell him for the king's ransom, which is, I have multiple Barkley shares. If he comes out and has a 2,000 yard, Barkley's on the market, right? Like, what can I go? Yeah, definitely with the 23 class approaching us here, it's like, okay, can I sell Barkley for Elijah Mitchell? And can I get multiple firsts for him? Can I put myself in a position to get that player and Bijan Robinson, right? Can I upgrade here and get that young fresh leg with no ACL tear and see where he ends up? So what do you think of Barkley, Garrett?
Yeah, I like Barkley as well. I didn't expect him to be all the way up at 4. I figured we were all going to be somewhere in like the 8 to 10 range. And I've seen a lot of people that say he doesn't even deserve to be in the top 10 because you drafted him for really high 3 straight seasons and you've gotten basically nothing out of him for that. That's tough to come back from.
It is a tough pill to swallow.
And then the same guy drafts Cam Akers ahead of him.
I think that's the biggest thing for me is he's almost at the point where he has to prove it to me before I'm going to be really willing to truly buy in.
And for the record, this is the last time I'm buying into this guy.
This is the last. I mean, this is a big make or break year, not only for his own personal value, but for his dynasty value. I mean, he could easily fall down here into that what is now Miles Sanders, right? Where people are drafting him in the back end of the second, like as a running back too.
Well, and on top of that, a lot of times we just take a look at the numbers and the statistics and the tape and all of these things, but there's a psychological aspect to this too, where we've seen a lot of really talented players that have struggled with injury after injury after injury, or, bad team after bad team after bad team. And just at some point it just gets to them psychologically. And you have to wonder, like, what is that breaking point for Saquon Barkley to where is he going to be able to get his mind back into that winning mode, into that domination mode? Like, there is a whole mental side of this as well.
Don't you think the whole, just getting rid of Joe Judge is going to kind of breathe
helps.
new life?
Absolutely.
If you not get him behind the line of scrimmage 90% of the time.
If you remember, this team was fighting amongst themselves preseason last year.
Absolutely.
Right. Big time.
It was bad.
It was a disaster. It was a train wreck from the get-go.
I hope for his sake, too, they invest in that line.
And it sucks because the year before that was a COVID year and he's injured. You know what I mean? It's just like...
He's had a lot of really bad luck.
It's bad luck after bad luck. I feel like this Brian Daboll move is going to breathe some fresh air and life into this team. So hopefully Saquon can stay healthy and breathe in that fresh air and kind of propel himself back to where I hope
so too. I have him on two teams.
From a talent standpoint, I think he belongs up at the top 4.
Could be some good bang for your buck on Prediction Strike.
Ooh, yeah, I'm sure his value's pretty low there. So, yeah, why you bring them up? Our friends over at PredictionStrike.com, you have the opportunity to buy, sell, hold, trade shares of players just like you would the stock market. You can go on their app. Everything. I'm a guy that loves apps personally. Like, if there's not a good app for it, I'm probably not very interested in it personally. But you can go on the app. You can do everything on there. I heard that they're going to be looking to add baseball soon. They've already been doing basketball. We're in the midst of basketball season. Just had the All-Star game here in Cleveland. So lots of good things there. But they have a great website as well. Best of all, you can go on their site. If you type in the code Dynasty, you will get...
Free share.
I almost said the old.
Talk about
it's okay. It's okay. I know you wanted to say 2 shares.
I did.
Yeah.
You get a free player share with your
2
first
shares on Tuesday on 2/22/22
of 22. No, of just $20 on PredictionStrike.com.
It's not $22.
I wanted to say $22.
Do you get baseball players really cheap if they're locked out?
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Jose Ramirez, my guy.
Jose,
so here at number 7, consensus is we have Dalvin Cook. A guy that
you're the one that's going to have to explain yourself here, Rich. You're the high man.
I am the high man. So I know Dalvin Cook. It's one of those guys where his value's kind of taking a little bit of a dip. He finished the year as running back 16, still averaging 15.9, but still when he's on the field, he is a fantastic running back here. And every time, I've seen nothing about him slowing down. I think Alexander Madison kind of hurts his value a little bit because he's looked okay out there. Mm-hmm. He signed that long-term contract. He's got a legal thing over his head. But when I'm sitting here and I'm looking at it, it's just when he is healthy and he's on the field, he's a top 5 fantasy football running back. So once we get this mode, he's right here in the same, when you're talking about tiers for me where I have it. So I have Javonte Harris. I would go Taylor, CMC, Swift in a tier for me. I would put Najee Harris and Javonte Williams in a tier for me. After that, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, J.K. Dobbins, Antonio Gibson. Those guys are all pretty close. And if anything, maybe I would flip Eckler above Cook, one draft, Cook here. But today, as it stands, I'm taking Dalvin Cook. He's on a team. We don't know what's going to. He's on a really good offense. Plays inside a dome. They're Justin Jefferson. We don't know what's going to happen to Adam Thielen. So, to me, if you're looking at a guy that's now in this outside, obviously Eckler, Kamara, and Cook. Those next 3 guys, maybe that's even the next tier by itself, offers the more safe, top 3 finish kind of guys. They can give me a top 3 finish, which is a championship caliber players. Dalvin Cook is a guy who we love coming out of Florida State. Has produced consistently every single year. And it's why I have Kamara right behind him. Where everybody else, I just bought Kamara for a first. If you're looking at another guy who's taking a big dip, Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara, both right here, opposite side, on the wrong side of 25, right? Coming down here, 26 years old. But Alvin Kamara, same thing. Alvin Kamara has been a running back 1 every single year he's been in the NFL. Every single year. That is... When we look back, we did a show not too long ago.
Yep.
We did running backs of the decade, right? It was LaShawn McCoy.
Before
that, it was LaDainian Tomlinson, right? Alvin Kamara is the next all-decade fantasy football running back after LaShawn McCoy. To be a running back 1 every year, what is it, about 6 years now that he's been in the league? approximately.
Kamara, are you talking about? Or?
5 years. To be a running back 1 for 5 straight years is unprecedented. Look it up. Look at all the running backs. Go back and look at every single year who the top 12 running backs were. And you're going to see different names left and right. And you might see a couple of these guys twice. Maybe a guy in the last 10 years 3 times. Alvin Kamara has been a running back every single one of those years. So no matter what changes, I have to make sure. And even this year, no Drew Brees, constant quarterback change, no receivers whatsoever. Alvin Kamara still finishes running back number 8 overall. And I know we're talking about Dalvin Cook here, but both these guys.
That's why I don't have any stats on him pulled up. I'm looking straight up right at Dalvin Cook's stuff.
But what I'm saying here is with these guys is
they are together.
They're both really when they're playing, they're very consistent running backs and they're powerhouse guys. And the way I look at these guys these are 2 guys. Yes, they're getting a little bit up there, but to me, these are not guys that now you want to trade now, right? Like there is a perceived value in the Dynasty community where their value is down. I don't view their value as that far down. Yeah, they're down here at about 6, 7, 8, which is different from 2, 3, 4. But these are the kind of guys in season when they're healthy, then you could trade for a king's ransom as Derrick Henry goes down or X player goes down. If you want to get into a 23 class plus in season, the Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler, these next couple of guys that are on the opposite side of 25 will get you there.
I totally agree. These guys are not off-season sells because you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. You're selling at a low point because of the perception on that's attached to their age. The time to sell these guys in the offseason was probably 2 or 3 years ago before they signed their second deals and all that kind of stuff.
But then you're missing out on running back 1s anyway. So
exactly. So it's one of these things that these guys are going to be championship chasers from now on. Whoever's going for the championship, you're going to be buying guys like Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, because they're going to be a little bit cheaper, but you're still going to get high end value out of them. So I had 8. So, I mean, I didn't have him that much lower than you did. Like and I did have Kamara above him, so I think we had those 2 flip-flopped, and that was really the main difference in those 2. But they're right on top of each other for me and you, just in opposite orders. And going back to the LeSean McCoy, Alvin Kamara being like that all-decade type of running back, he is. Like the other guy, LeSean McCoy had a 7 running back 1s.
7.
Yeah. And then, I don't even remember how many LaDainian Tomlinson had.
We didn't go back far.
Right, but what do those guys have in common? They're pass-catching backs that stayed healthy. And that's, I think, the big thing here. The why I had Kamara above Cook is his ability to stay healthy on the field. Cook's always seems to miss a couple games here and there, and that was
especially during the playoffs.
Yeah, the differentiator for me as far as why I put Kamara above Cook. But you really you're splitting hairs. When they're on the field, they're both huge assets.
And they could be had. I literally just acquired Alvin Kamara for what is likely pick 110 to 112 in a Superflex league for 23. So I got him for 23 first. Mm-hmm. And to me, that value, no matter what, if my team, I got to see where my team's going to be come playoff, like the playoff push. If I'm in the hunt, I keep him. If not, to me, he's going to be an easy sell. To not only, since I gave him a late first because it wasn't my first, I will move up. I could get a higher first, probably plus on top of that. So even though I got him for a first, I'm probably getting a first back, maybe a 24 first on top of that, maybe a 23 seconds. So I love both these guys. Not maybe even as long-term value dynasty players, but when I look at it as hashtag 2 to 3 year window, right? Which is, we haven't talked about it in a while. Hashtag 2 to 3 year window on running backs is that's all you expect to get out of these guys. Mm-hmm. I think we easily have at their age at 26 years old. We still have 2 to 3 more years of these guys giving you production.
So actually, both players are going to be 27 this year.
Okay.
So both guys are going into their age 27
year. 2 year window.
2 year window. Take off the third year.
And maybe you get 29, but I think you still have 2 years of these guys, and the time to sell would be if you're in season. If you're not a contender.
Yeah, something happens to your team. Yeah, you couple injuries here and there, and you can unload them for a good price.
I have them ranked higher than other guys because I think if healthy, they will outproduce those guys.
So I didn't have either one of those guys in my top 10. I kept both of them outside my top 10. The way I looked at this is, you mentioned it earlier, kind of looking at it more as a startup value is kind of how we're looking. I would not draft Dalvin Cook or Alvin Kamara, partly because of the age. I just mentioned both of them. This is going to be their age 27 season. One turns it in like July, the other one in August. So it'll be their age 27 season for both of them. But both of them also have other external question marks as well. So Dalvin Cook, we have the off the field. We don't know what's going on with all that. So that adds another layer of complexity to it. And then you add in, it's a brand new offense again. You have no idea who the coach's guy is going to be. You have no idea how the offense is going to run. There's going to be, and there's even rumors about Kirk Cousins maybe being moved. And there's all of these things up in the air. Not saying that any of them will happen, but when there's that many things that could happen, that always makes it difficult. Alvin Kamara, similar situation. He just got in trouble for an off the field issue. I don't think there's going to be much that comes from it, but it adds another layer. And then he's also going through a coaching change. We don't know what this offense is going to look like moving forward.
That same offensive coordinator.
That they did bring back the same offensive coordinator, but the biggest thing is the amount of cap space that they don't have, the negative cap space that they had.
There's going to be some cuts. There's going to be some.
I think the best thing he'd do would be move on out of that offense.
It's going to be very interesting to see.
So there's so many things there.
And to go back on that too, real quick, I would not take either of these guys in a startup. Like, there's no way I would take them.
Then why are they that high in your top 10?
Because that's where I think they belong amongst these running backs. I would take receivers here, and I would it's a tier.
But I mean, okay, let's say
I would let them fall a little bit and I would take a guy like J.K. Dobbins.
All right, but let's say you have to take a running back there. Would you take, we're in the 4th round, 5th round, whatever.
I would take these guys.
You would take these guys over Dobbins?
If I had, they're ranked in order of how I would take them in a startup draft if I had to take them. Just because I have them here doesn't mean I would take them there, because
you would take other positions.
If you look at my rankings, I would have receivers all over these guys, but these guys would go in that range of of this range.
Gotcha.
Now if they slipped, which again, like how you have them ranked and the community have them ranked, all of a sudden I'm sitting there in the 4th round because I went wide receiver, running back, and maybe I look at that tight end and the 4th, and one of these guys are there. Then I'm going, oh, that's value. But I would expect both of these guys to probably go right around the 3rd round of a startup.
Super flex, probably
which
3rd
I'm
round.
not taking those guys there. But again, I would take them in this order if the value's there.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that's why I have both of those guys outside. The age is one of the biggest things.
Yep.
But when you add those other things on top of it, that was just enough to keep them in. And I believe I have them at like 11 and 12. Yeah. So they're not crazy far outside my top 10. But at running back specifically, early on, and that's why I had Dobbins so high, is I really, really value the youth there. And if it's a player that I even think is going to at least get me low RB1 for the next 4 years, I would rather have that than RB1 for the next 2 years.
So let me ask you this, because there's another running back that you do have in your top 10 coming up here a little bit lower. That's basically the same age, 26, going to be 27 in May. So he's even...
Mixon and Eckler are both older guys that are coming up.
Yeah. So it's Austin Eckler. So I guess what are the differentiators?
The biggest difference is I don't have questions about what their team situation looks like. Same head coach, same offense, same quarterback, all of that is congruent. And so I know confidently that they're going to be in the same role doing roughly the same thing for the next 2 seasons.
I have them all in order, like same tier.
Eckler specifically makes me a little bit nervous. I did put him in my top 10. It makes me a little bit nervous when the coach kind of came out at the end of the season or after the season, I can't remember, and said,
Brandon Staley,
yeah, we kind of want to scale back Austin Eckler's workload a little bit. So does that make either one of you guys nervous, or did you guys hear that?
I did, and I can understand the nervousness about it, but for him, I never cared about his rushing, like the 400 yards that he's going to get me rushing.
It's all the receptions.
It was all in the receptions anyway, so that's why I wasn't overly concerned about it.
Agree 100%. I'd almost rather you bring him back a little bit so stay a little bit healthier, because he dominates. That's where he's best, right? Yak.
I mean, last year he finished as running back 2, and he had 900 yards rushing and 600 and almost 50 yards receiving. So
so he had a higher.
It was a big workload last year, and I just want to make sure, I mean, obviously I have him as my number 10.
Sure,
I did get him in my top 10, but
I have him 9, so same spot basically.
Right,
yep.
Basically. I was just curious because he was in your top 10 in those other 2.
And that was we only have so many young running backs that I feel confident.
That's why I have Cook and Kamara up there.
Yeah. So that's why Dobbins made it up so high, and that's why honestly I was really torn on getting on Antonio Gibson in there. I just don't quite feel confident enough in him to be able to put him in there. Now, if I was able to put Breece Hall in this, he would probably instantly go to like my top 8.
Okay.
I mean, you mentioned Antonio Gibson. I don't have Joe Mixon or Antonio Gibson in my top 10. Mm-hmm. And those are the two guys. Like, I mean, Antonio Gibson just finished as running back 10 overall in PPR league. So, like, he was running back 10 overall. He's got the youth. He's a player that I loved coming out. I remember even when he was coming out, you guys were talking about Darius Geis, and I was like, I guarantee by week 10, Antonio Gibson's going to be the guy. Now,
there was a little bit of an odd reason on that one.
that had nothing to do with it. That's how much I liked Antonio Gibson's tape when he came out. Like, because I'm the running back guy, Matt's the wide receiver guy.
Right.
So
I'm just a nothing guy.
I was really big on Antonio Gibson. I was really big on Antonio Gibson. So you mentioned a startup draft. Like, that's the way I'm looking at it. I was like, okay, now Gibson would probably go ahead of these guys. But a couple months ago, I'm thinking, okay, I would pass on Cook and Kamara just because I could settle with J.K. Dobbins and Antonio Gibson.
Sure.
Now, that might change right now because of the narratives that you said are going on, but he's still in that – it's only 10 guys, so he's still in that tier for me. Like, Mixon and Gibson are the guys that I could easily take above Cook, Kamara, and Eckler and have no problem with it whatsoever. And if you told me, I got to have those guys ahead of them, I'm like, okay, I agree.
Right.
That's fine. That's they're running backs. Like they're easy for me to shuffle and shake here. So
and I do agree, and I think this is roughly what you've been saying, but I want to emphasize it again. I think after really the top 5, 6 guys, there is a really big tier of like pick your flavor, really, of like 7 to 14 almost. Yeah. And that ranges. Do you value youth a little bit more? Do you value top end right now a little bit more? Do you value security? Do you value ceiling? Do you like it's all kind of in like what's your flavor? But I think all of those guys are pretty close.
And there's a couple of young guys. I mean, outside of Josh Jacobs that I like a ton this year, like Michael Carter in New York. I'm real curious, like, if they don't make a move there to bring in with competition, like, he could dominate. He was getting the yards behind the yards of scrimmage, behind the line, in the passing game. Elijah Mitchell again in San Francisco. I expect him to be the running back there again in 2022. So Elijah Mitchell, Michael Carter. Again, in a startup, the reason I don't take these guys, because I am completely 100% comfortable getting my young wide receivers and then drafting Michael Carter. I want to get one of these guys, right? Like, I want to grab one running back, and then I'm going tight end. I'm going receivers. I'm getting all 3 of my young receivers, and then I'm grabbing Elijah Mitchell, Michael Carter. These guys to kind of bump on there. And then
DJ Dallas.
DJ Dallas. And then backing them up with a guy like Melvin Gordon, who I can fill in as my running back 4 to kind of be my bye week filler. So now you mentioned J.K. Dobbins. You had J.K. Dobbins higher than all of us. You have a number.
I am 6. All the way up to 5. Yep.
5 overall.
Yep.
Which again, I don't hate because I love J.K. Dobbins. I've been on this show repeatedly for 6 months now, pumping J.K. Dobbins and the potential that he brings. So you love him enough to put him as your number 5 overall running back. What really shocks me here is that you have J.K. Dobbins over Najee Harris.
And that was close. And in retrospect, I might even switch them. They're that like razor thin for me. Part of what makes me feel so good about J.K. Dobbins is the yards per carry that he was averaging as a rookie was absurd. The explosive plays that he was having as a rookie were absurd. The yards after contact, he was proving in every statistical category, every analytical category, that he was doing something really, really well. And even this year, there were stretches where freaking Devontae Freeman was like interesting.
Yes.
Like there was, I mean,
if he can make this interesting, old man River over there.
I literally said at one point when Devontae was doing well, I was like, if Devontae Freeman is doing this, wait till J.K. Dobbins gets back.
Yep.
Running back 1. He's not even my top 10.
and so I think,
where do you have him?
I have him.
I was looking, you literally had him at 11.
11, yeah. So
Okay.
I have him.
I'm at like 13.
Yeah.
I have him right
I almost
there.
I was going to ask, and then I saw you guys had him like pretty close to the top 10. So that's why it didn't surprise me that it would have surprised me if they were like 15, 16.
I looked at him, and I the one I moved back up was Chubb, because like Chubb's the one I have. Chubb, who's next on the list here, is the one I had the most trouble with, right? Because he consistently shares time with Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt will be off the Cleveland Browns after this year. It's his last year on his deal there. There's no way he resigns because he's going to get a good contract out. He's got to get a good contract elsewhere, you would expect.
You would.
And Chubb to me is just, he's Derrick Henry 2.0, right? Like when he gets the ball, he dominates. Even him missing multiple games over the last 2 years with like injuries, he still finds a way to come in and finishes a high-end fantasy football running back. Even this year, he came in as running back 13, just missed being a running back 1.
Despite missing, what, 5 games?
3 games.
3 games?
3 games officially, but there's a couple games where like he sat out at least half of the game here. So he probably missed closer to 5, but still averaged 15.4 points per game, which is better than a lot of these other. That's more points than Antonio Gibson per game, Cordero Patterson, and that was splitting time. Literally not even being on down in the field on third down. Yeah. So a guy that when I look at here from a talent perspective,
he's the safe one.
He's as safe as they come.
Yes.
Out of these running backs, he's not going to help you in a PPR game, but he is going to help you win every single week with double digits. And honestly, he is just primed to explode. It's hard for me to envision a running back of his talent not to have at least one top 3 finish in his career. And it might not be in 2022 and it might be 2023, but it's too hard for me to envision him not finishing his career with one top 3 fantasy football finish. So consistently been like a running back 1, definitely on numbers wise. That's why I have him there. And that's what put me above J.K. Dobbins. From that kind of standpoint, he is guaranteed to help me produce. More so than Barkley, more so than Dalvin Cook, more so than Alvin Kamara, and honestly, probably even more so than Javonte Williams. So for me, and honestly, more so than DeAndre Swift, who's our running back 3 consensus. That's how talented he is. He's just had that handcuffed of Kareem Hunt behind him.
So, I mentioned that startup before. You're right. Guys like, let's see, Derrick Henry went in the 3rd round of this startup. Saquon Barkley went in the 3rd round of the startup. Dalvin Cook was, let's see where he was. He was end of the 4th round. Alvin Kamara was the beginning of the 4th round. Nick Chubb, though, I ended up getting Nick Chubb at 5'8". In this draft.
Wow.
And so he is actually one of my favorite buys right now because he should be in a very similar tier with Kamara, with, Cook. He should be in a similar tier with those guys and Derrick Henry and all of those. But he's being drafted a round or sometimes even 2 rounds later than those guys. So he actually is a great, if you're a guy like us, for the most part, that likes to draft wide receivers early, likes to draft your quarterbacks early, getting your first running back in round 5 as Nick Chubb, you're going to feel pretty good about that.
And then we have Joe Mixon out here at the end at number 12. He's our number 12 overall running back as we get our consensus top 12. Again, everything I love about Joe Mixon. He's involved in a passing game. He's involved in a running game. You look for the Bengals to emphasize 100% the offensive line this offseason.
Absolutely.
They're going to draft a whole bunch of offensive linemen, whatever the best, like the center, Ryan Jensen out of Tampa Bay. He's a free agent again. Look for him potentially go there to Cincinnati.
And they have the money.
They have the cap space. Mm-hmm. They are going to bolster this offensive line tremendously, which not only will help Joe Burrow, who we're going to talk about quarterbacks next from a super flex perspective. Where do we have Joe Burrow in overall rankings? But Joe Mixon should benefit greatly as well. So great value here at 12. All the guys on the outside we didn't talk about. We didn't talk about your guy. Trust me, he's in that tier. I have no problem with you taking this guy. The running backs, hashtag 2 to 3 year window. It should be the most fluid position on your roster. And we got some more young ones coming in. We're going to talk about them here in a couple of weeks. So that's it. We're going to jump into our Nerd Herd, break down these Superflex guys here. Again, we have this on YouTube. We have that new video coming on YouTube, so make sure you check that out as we do these team audits. If you want to have your team audited, just follow Dynasty Nerds on Twitter. We put announcements on there for the Nerd Herd.
Turn on those tweet notifications.
Notifications. Check out the YouTube channel.
We got a lot of new stuff coming.
Garrett just did an interview with Ray Garvin. Yep. Garrett has a long list of some really good interviews lined up. Garrett, give a couple of the names that you have lined up here. Come over the next month or so of interviews. Not all the guys. Just give them a little taste of a couple guys.
Yeah, Kyle Yates is coming up. I'm going to be interviewing him here soon.
Fantasy Playbook, baby.
Fantasy Playbook. He just launched his own new brand. I'm proud of him. I'm excited for him. Danny Kelly's going to be coming up here soon. Connor Rogers from Bleacher Report. After the Combine, it looks like hopefully still working out the details, but Lance Zierlein from NFL Network does all those NFL grades. So
fantasy footballers, Mike Wright.
Yep.
I think Garrett and I are going to go through a 4-round rookie mock draft using our app. Sweet.
Hey.
I'm excited.
That's going to be fun. So
lots of stuff.
I know that's exclusive YouTube content. So Ray Garvin was the first, a good friend of ours. Check that out. So get to YouTube, like, subscribe, comment on all our videos. Again, it just helps the brand. Helps grow the game of Dynasty is what we're trying to do. And don't forget about that promo code WINTER. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, this is your last week to use it. Get all our great tools. And here's what I really like to push here is with the winter code, 15% off. If you just get the 1 month, right? It's going to cost you like $4 or $5 for the 1 month of access to everything that we have to offer. Just give it a try. And if you don't like it, you're out $5. You get to watch a ton of rookie film. You get to put all your teams in the Dynasty GM and use the League Analyzer and all the tools we have in that. And it's good. I promise you, for that $5, you'll have a ton of fun. And if you say, hey, this isn't worth it for me, then you gave us a try.
$5. And you spent $5 on worse things, I promise.
And you know what? And I'll probably ask you to try again when we launch the 2.0 because we have a lot. And here's the thing. If you sign up now at this discounted rate, we are in the works to launch Dynasty GM 2.0. Our goal is to have it launched by August before the next season. And this will be twice as good as what you see now. So if you think now is great, it's only going to get better.
Yep.
I mean, we had a big meeting on this weekend, our big annual nerds meeting. We were looking at pictures of what we're doing, and it's very exciting.
And
so
from where it started to where it is now is already loads better. And
if you know anybody that had the Dynasty GM from when we first launched it now, just ask them how much it's evolved. And one thing I can make a promise to all you listening and all you watching in Dynasty space, we will continue to grow as a Dynasty tools and analytics and information that you can use to dominate your Dynasty leagues every opportunity we get. When you join the Nerd Herd, your membership goes back reinvested into the Dynasty community and into yourself because that's what we're looking to do. We literally have a laundry list of things we want to put in this GM, and that takes time and development, unfortunately, because if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right and make sure that it really benefits your team. So this stuff does take time. But we promise you that whatever you get today will be better tomorrow. That's one thing we get. And right now, just give it a try. And if you like what you see now, I promise you're going to like what you see tomorrow. Promo code WINTER. Get in there. DynastyNerds.com. Join the Nerd Herd. Become one of many. And let's grow this game of Dynasty. And most importantly, let's dominate these leagues and rookie drafts.
Adios.